Teaching in the Temple. Having spent a few days in Jerusalem under the distant, nervous, watchful eyes of the religious leaders, one morning Jesus and his disciples sat down near the large gold collection bowls of the temple. Every now and then a rich man would make a big scene about giving his offering. "God, I thank you that I am not like the commoners, tax collectors and Gentiles," one man began. "I bring you large amounts of money to be used in your temple for your work." He gestured to his servants, who held basketfuls of coins over their heads and pirouetted towards the bowl before dramatically emptying them slowly into the container, making sure to make an extended loud noise as the coins hit the polished gold. The people around looked on, impressed by the ceremony and the generosity of the wealthy man. As the rich man turned away, so did the onlookers, and no one noticed a frail, little old lady shuffling forward, who was almost knocked over by the arrogant man and his servants. She reached up, and as she placed in 2 small copper coins, there was the faintest of sounds as the coins collided with the money already in them. She momentarily closed her eyes in prayer, before again shuffling away silently. "I tell you," Jesus said, "that this woman has given more than the other man. In fact, she's given more than all the men that we've seen throw money into the basket this morning," Jesus announced. The disciples were confused at Jesus' comment, and their faces showed it. "You see," he continued, "the men gave vast amounts of money, which most of us could hardly ever imagine. However, they gave out of their extreme wealth, knowing that at home they had far more money saved up for themselves. But this woman has given only 2 small copper coins, the only 2 small copper coins she owns. She's given everything to God, and you cannot give more than your all. When you give, you should try to be more like this woman of faith. Give humbly, give freely, give willingly, and give secretly. Then your Father in heaven will be pleased to look upon your gift with favour." For months, wherever Jesus went, he was used to the Pharisees questioning him, and now he was in their territory. They came out themselves. It was the turn of the chief priests and the elders to challenge Jesus directly and personally. "In whose authority do you do these deeds and say these things? And from whom did you get your authority?" they questioned. Until now, Jesus had answered every question, silenced every critic, rebuffed every challenge, and justified every action. But now it was time to change tact a bit. "I'll answer your question, if you can first answer mine," Jesus returned. Because of the religious order of society, it was part of these elders' jobs to teach and answer questions before being taught and asking questions. But Jesus asked them, "Where did John's baptism come from? Was it from heaven? Or was it simply a publicity stunt of John's own invention?" The teachers were trapped. For months they had been asking questions like this, hoping that Jesus would get stumped and lose credit, but each time he had come up with an answer, helping him gain even more followers. Now the sandal was on the other foot, and the leaders wondered how Jesus had managed it. They gathered together in a holy huddle, discussing the 2 possible answers Jesus had offered them. "If we say John's message of baptism were from heaven, then he will ask why we didn't listen or believe the message that he brought," one teacher said. Before another added, "But if we say it was not from heaven, then we'll risk antagonizing the people who hold John to be a prophet." Whilst fighting back their collective pride without a trace of humility, yet loaded with humiliation, the group's spokesman offered the feeble response of, "We don't know." Jesus' face remained deadpan, but the disciples' grins grew even broader as Jesus responded, "Then neither will I tell you where I receive my authority from." The religious leaders had hoped that Jesus would just carry on with his teaching and healing, allowing them to slip away quietly without all the burning eyes upon them. However, this hope soon drained away as Jesus continued, "But I will tell you a story. A winemaker had 2 sons, he said. One day during the harvest he spoke to his first son. "Son," he asked, "can you please come and help me in my vineyard today?" "Oh, not today, Dad," answered the son as he sat under one of the vines, lounging in its shade and eating handfuls of juicy red grapes. "I'm far too busy to help you. I need some me time. Some time just to chill out and relax a bit." The father went away looking sad. He found his second son and asked him the same question. "Of course I'll come," answered the young man. "Just let me finish what I'm doing now and I'll come out and help you. If you go on ahead and make a start, I'll come and meet you there if you want." Meanwhile, the first son was thinking about his response to his father's request. Feeling he had been selfish and unfair, he sought to make amends for his attitude. Starting with the vine he was sheltering under, he took a basket and began to fill it with choice grapes. Soon his father returned to the vineyard, expecting his second son to join him. He was pleasantly surprised to see his eldest son already there working, and about to start on his second basketful of fruit. For the rest of the afternoon, time rushed past as the job seemed easy, as father and son worked together in unity, enjoying each other's company. By the end of the shift, with baskets laden with fruit, the two men returned home tired. Although overjoyed that one of his sons had helped him, the father was extremely disappointed in the other son. And when his son saw his father's face, he realized that he had let him down. But by then, it was too late. Although the leaders knew this story was about them, Jesus continued to explain the meaning, and therefore make it explicitly clear what he meant. Your Father in heaven wants all his children to be involved in his work. He wants to work alongside you. He wants to work with you, and he wants to work in you. You, he said, gesturing to the whole crowd, are the sons in the story. Some of you may have rejected the Father in the past and lived unholy lives, yet you've realized your mistakes and repented. This was the message John brought to you. Some, however, and as he added this, he looked straight into the eyes of the most chiefly priests. Some, however, say the right things and speak about your holiness and your righteousness, telling others the things you do that set you apart from everybody else. And yet, when it comes to action, you fall short. You don't do the task the Father wants you to do, and most importantly, you never repent, and you never change your ways. The truth is, prostitutes, tax collectors, murderers, thieves and Gentiles will enter heaven before you hypocrites. And when you see the disappointment on your Father's face, you will realize that you have not been working alongside him, but in many ways, you've been working against him. I urge you to repent quickly before it's too late, for God's kingdom is closer than you think. The repentant sinners stayed listening to Jesus, but the priests and leaders left feeling humiliated, agitated, annoyed, bitter and defiant. They would stop this man. They would silence him forever, and they would do it soon. It was then that Satan caused Judas to take action. Oblivious to the crowd and to the disciples, Judas slipped away and followed after the priests. Only Jesus saw him leave, and he knew that this was the beginning of the end of his earthly mission.